It's driving me nuts. Okay. Now, let me move this over. Okay. And I was telling Naomi that everybody, I think, made an A on the quiz, and really everybody did really well on the homework too. I mean, I was very happy with results with what we ended up with on the homework. But anyway, and I think I'm not going to do every single one that we did because I think y'all have a good grasp of how to, for the voice leading. If you have a common tone, keep it. You're going to double the root in almost every chord. But there was one exception, and I think we even talked about it briefly last week about why they would make an exception, and we found out this week why they did that. And that's on page 144, I think, because I think I put everybody the same call out according to the chart on page 144. Yeah, yeah. It's this is that chart where they tell you all the different triads for the major keys and whether you use them in root position or not and which note you double. Well, the 2 and the 3 and the 6, all of them, yes, you can use them in root position. Yes, you can use them in first inversion. No, you don't use them in second inversion unless it's just some weird freak of coincidence from voice leading or something. And you double the root. But look at the 7 diminished. It says not to use it in root position. So generally speaking, it's going to be a 7 diminished with a 6. The third is going to be in the bass. Most of the time you're going to see it in first inversion, but look at the doubling. You double the third instead of the root. And most people did not double. Oh, I see. I laid something on top of my keyboard, and so now okay, hold on. Oh, crap. Now I've got my scroll lock on. Okay, hold on. Doggone it. Wait a minute. Okay, scroll lock is off. Okay, and uh, can y'all still hear me and see me and everything?
You see your whiteboard or
Okay,
your
good, good. Okay, all right. Okay,
you're just a voice.
good. That's it. Then I have accomplished my objective here. Okay, I'm going to go down to
How do
the,
I know this is you and not AI then?
yes, exactly. Okay, we're going to do the 2 from the bottom. Um, Also, I know, Glenn, I think what happened to you on the second example at the bottom is you assumed that every single one of those was going to be first inversion, but the 4 was not. The 4 was in root position. So that in that second example, we'll show that in a minute. But anyway, and that's why you had the wrong note, the notes in that one. But okay, I'm going to start with, I'm at the bottom of your homework assignment, the one where it says first inversion. I think it's D is what it is. Uh, yeah, section D. Okay, and we had 2 of them in this one. And the first one was A major, F, C, G, F, C, G. Okay, and what they gave you a B in the bass and a G in the soprano. Okay, and they said A, 7 diminished, 6, going to a 1-6. And they gave you the C in the bass here, C sharp, and then an A. So we had a G sharp up here. I'm going to just mark it as a sharp. Going to an A, right? G sharp to
Can I ask a
A.
question right quick?
Yes.
Is the seventh also always diminished? every example that I've seen in the book, it has a seven diminished. Is there just a seven, not diminished?
Yes, because it diatonically. Okay, if you build a triad on the seventh
Right,
note of the major scale,
right,
then
right.
your the B to a D is three half steps,
Hmm.
and then the D to the F is three half steps. So
Okay,
that's diminished. All the rest of them come out either major or minor, but that's the
right.
only one. Now, if you put a seventh on it, it's not another three half steps. So it's not a fully. That's what makes it either half diminished or the triad is always diminished. But depending on whether you put a minor third above that or a major third, is whether it's half diminished or fully diminished seventh. So but always the triad is going to be diminished unless they alter it in some way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so as always, I'll go ahead and write out my notes. So here, the 7 in A, that's a G sharp, B, D. And the 1, of course, is A, C sharp, E. And we don't have any common tones here, okay? So now we have a G sharp, and we're supposed to double the third, okay? They've given us a B here already. This is the exception where you don't double the root like all the other triads. Even in first inversion, we double the root. And the second inversion, which the only one we care about is the 1, 6, 4, you always double the fifth, okay? But everything else, when in doubt, double the root. Unless it's the 7 diminished chord, you double the third. So they gave
Hmm.
us a B, so we still need another B. So I'm going to stick it right up here in the bass. Okay, so we've got the doubled third. We've got a G sharp in the soprano. All we need now is a D that's left to go in the alto. Okay.
Hmm.
And if you don't do that, if you don't double that B, if you
Yeah,
put,
you end up with parallel octaves.
you
I know.
do, you end up with parallel octaves. Okay. So if you double the, yeah, so if you double the G sharp down here and then it moves, yeah, it's gonna, so anyway, so you want to double that B, and it's in, okay, so that's what we've got so far. So now we're going to go to a 1, 6, which is an A. They've given us one A, but we need another A. So I'm going to just put the A right here, have the B move down to the A. So we have two A's, a C sharp. Now we need an E. Okay, so we got the G sharp going to the A, B coming down to the A. Okay, and we see anything that looks like a no, because we've got the B and a D. That's a 6. That's legal. Nothing else. Okay? And those who, I mean, and on the second example that we have here, which is the key of F major. Okay, so we have here F major, one flat. Let's just do it like this. F major. Okay, and we have a 4 chord. All right, here we go. F. We have a 4 root position, moving to a 7 diminished first inversion again. Just like we had here, it's just in a different key. So let's get our bass notes. Let's see, we have in the bass of the 4 chord, we have a B flat. And in the soprano, we have a D. Okay? And then in the bass of the 7 diminished, we have a G. And in the soprano, we have an E. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and write out my chords. So in the key of F, a 4 chord is B flat, D, F. And one good reason to write these out is because then you can also glance at it and see if there's a common chord tone that you need to say to keep, repeat across. So the 7 diminished in the key of F is an E, G, B flat. And of course the G is what's doubled. And the B is a common tone. Okay? So here, isn't that funny? The first chord we had a B flat before, now it's a B flat. So I'm gonna just, okay, in the first one, it's just a regular root position, primary chord, double the root, look for any common tones. So this is the one we're doubling. They gave us one B flat. I'm gonna put the other B flat right up there above it. And now we have B flat and a D. We've got a D, so now we need an F. So I'm gonna put the F right here. Anybody got any problems with that? Now, some of y'all are so funny.
Thank
Some of
you.
you would actually go down and put, like, now this is a bad example because everybody, but let's say you had needed a D in there someplace. They go down, they put, or they'd put a D down here and an F, they'll split them up like that. Two of them close together at the top, two of them close together at the bottom. If you just move that up an octave, now suddenly you'd have everything together. It's perfectly acceptable to have more. Now, this aren't the actual notes. I'm just telling you. I saw this over and over on some of you, where you'd put your tenor way down beside the bass and have a huge gap between the tenor and the alto, and have them up there in the top. So I just want to stress to you, it's perfectly acceptable to have more than an octave between the bass and the tenor.
Um, okay.
Okay, now these are the
At
wrong
a
notes.
some point last semester, I was told that you do not put more than an octave between voices,
That's true. That's
and
true.
that's why I would not have,
That's
you
true.
know,
But I had people putting a tenth between the alto and the tenor. The tenor is
uh,
way down by the bass. And,
yeah,
and so it was really two things. It put the bass, it put the tenor way down and made a huge, huge gap. An octave is about the most between consecutive voices. Now, of course, between the bass and the soprano, you may have two octaves, but between any two consecutive voices, yes. But as you'll see more in the, but sometimes you'll see exceptions where the bass will be down, down, low, low, low. But the
yeah.
other voices, you want to keep them within an octave between them. If you're going to have a big gap for some reason, you want it to be between the bass and the tenor, not put those close and have a huge one between the tenor and the alto. Okay?
Hmm. It just seems like it's better harmony if you keep similar voices together.
Well, no, because
Really,
well,
I
when
mean,
the lower you go
listen to
down,
the way it sounds. You know,
well, think about it. Like, listen to
I'm
this.
trying.
Okay? All right. Okay, there's an octave between the bass and the tenor,
Okay,
and then you've got all these together, okay?
yeah,
Now listen to it. If I put the D down there by the bass, see how heavy it makes the bass, and there's nothing in between, especially
okay,
if it's up here. You'll have it, you know. So when it now we're talking about, of course, choral music here, okay, and
yeah,
it's got more strict rules, but you will see cases even like with the piano music and stuff like that, where you'll have way down low, you know, and have it way the bass way down low, and then all the other stuff. But you don't want to have too much heaviness way down at the bottom, and then a big gap, and then have them together. Just kind of, it's just more pleasing to the ear if you can spread them out a little bit, if you can. But if you got to have some bunched up, bunch them up all toward the top, and have that one bass at the bottom. So I just thought I would
Yeah,
mention
probably
that.
just leave the bass at the bottom.
Yeah, or I would have somebody do
Seems like
a
everybody
B.
nowadays feels like they got to write the bass in the tenor range, and
Yeah,
that's not.
yeah. Or I'd have a B flat here, and then they'd put the E down here and put a unison A. Or I mean, just try to keep the voices moving as linear independently as you can, so that just so that it, if you think about it, you just have the tenors singing their part, and they got to jump down a tenth and then back up a sixth. That's going to be really hard for them. So you want to, now the basses won't have as big a problem with gaps usually, because they're most of the time in root position, and so they can follow the chord progression a little easier than all these other voices where they're trying to thread it in between all those other voices. Okay. So anyway, for this one, so we got the B flat and the D, another B flat and the A. B, D flat, F. Wait, I'm missing an F. Wait. B flat, B flat, D. I'm missing my F. Sorry. F. B flat, D, F. Okay. So now in the second chord, we're doubling the third. It's that sixth diminished. So the third is the G. They gave us a G. Now we need a G and another B flat. Well, we have a B flat that is a common tone, right? So let's keep this B flat right here. Now, do you see what that does? We have more than an octave between the tenor and the bass, but it's acceptable. You would not want to move. You wouldn't want to move. Well, let's see. We have a B flat, E G. Okay, what am I missing? E G G. We need another G. Okay, so here. But you wouldn't want to put your G down here and leave this one out. I mean, I've seen some really creative stuff where you just go, poor tenors. I thought those people hate tenors. They are just going to make those tenors go all over the place. Okay, now we want to check and make sure we don't have any parallel anythings. Here was a common B flat we kept, and we doubled the G, and they gave us we had no choice about that B flat to G. There wasn't much we could do unless we put the G here and the D here. We could have, I guess, done that just to keep it within an octave. Let's see what happened if we no, because then we wouldn't have our common tone. Um, I guess if you put the B flat up here and kept that common tone, and then had your F here.
See, this is way too much work.
It is. It really is.
Why I'm not an arranger.
Me too. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that, because I feel the very same way. But in these particular cases, they gave you two. You didn't have as many choices to make. So you just know that, if you're going to
Yeah,
double it,
you're
you're
not making me feel better.
you're usually pretty
They
safe
they gave
doubling
me
it
two, so I
based
didn't
with
have
the
any
tenor.
choice, and I still got them wrong.
Most of the time, you're safe when you've got a high soprano note, unless they're all way down low, close together. Go ahead and double. If you've got the bass is in root position, go ahead and double that to the tenor. Most of the time, it works out the best, I've found out. And then we just have the F going to the G, and the B flat staying the same. So anyway, so when you have the six diminished six, you're usually going to avoid parallel octaves or fifths, because I did have people with parallel fifths between the tenor and the alto, because they did not double the third in that second one. So they ended up with, all right. Um, okay. So that's all I'm going to talk about the homework, because I mean the rest of them were pretty straightforward. I mean, every now and then somebody'd forget to keep a common tone, and then they'd stick that D way low in the bass or something, instead of instead of just, putting it, repeating it or something. I don't know. But
So
try to keep
takeaway,
it,
the
try to
takeaway
keep
from this homework is on a diminished seventh, double the third,
double,
not the root.
that's right, on a diminished seventh. And most of the time it's going to be a diminished 7/6. Because it says in the book, you won't see it in root position or second inversion. You'll see it in first inversion. So, and every one of our
which is
examples was true.
which is the third on the bottom, right?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah,
So
that's right.
so
That's right. You're doubling
when
the
you're talking
base,
about a diminished seven, you double the base, not the root.
assuming it's in first inversion. That's
Right.
right.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. So that's the only triad out of all of them. Now, next week, go ahead and look at the. In fact, for next week, I think I want you to do the same thing, but do it for the minors. I
Ah,
know. I know. I'm not going to make you do every one.
no, I hate minors.
I do too. I do too. But
Minors are not real keys, by the way.
they are not. They're just a pain in everybody's butt.
If you've got to change two or three notes to make it work, it ain't a key.
Thank you. I agree.
It's
It
like,
is an artificial.
especially on the one where you got one set of notes going up and a different set of notes going down.
I know,
That's
the melodic and the harmonic.
absolutely insane.
I agree.
You might
I
as well
agree.
not even have a key. Might as well not even have a key.
So what
I
I'll
do
do
like
is I'll pick one minor. What was that, Naomi? Say that again.
I do like the harmonic minor scales. I think they're pretty, but
I do too. But you know what?
Oh, they're
One
pretty.
time, and
They're a collection of sound good.
when I was at FSU, and I still wasn't real clear on why the use of when you use the harmonic minor and when you use the melodic. I thought you could actually have a tune that went. I thought it sounded like something in Baghdad or sound.
Yeah, that
it
sounds right.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just play the harmonic minor. And I put that in my
Just do the
tune.
snake charmer, right?
Yes, that's what I thought it sounded like, and that was just one form you can use. And I think it was Peter Spencer said to me, "Why did you use the harmonic minor in your melody?" And I said, "It never occurred to me you wouldn't use it in the melody." He said, "The harmonic minor is what provides you with the harmonic vocabulary of what your notes are in the key. Those are all of the notes that are used in all your triads and stuff. But when you're doing a melody, you're going to use the melodic minor." And so he made me change it or knocked it. I don't know. Maybe he marked it off or something. I don't know. But I thought it was just one of your choices. He said, no, they call it harmonic because it's used in the harmonies. That's the harmonic minor because the harmonies are built on that scale. The melodic, so, okay, fine. So, anyway, that was my learning experience. That's how I found out why we have three different forms. So what I'll do is I will repost the assignment, but this time I'll pick one minor of each of those three rows. So, and then all you'll have to do is just use the diatonic, do whatever's in the diatonic. You don't have to, because I don't think we've got any fives. The only time you would ever in a minor, well, just use the diatonic tones in your scale. If you've got it, because you've got key signatures there. So just use whatever falls in there naturally. And if it's a 7 diminished 6, then you're going to have a B flat. I guess. C minor. Yeah, okay. So it would be a B, C minor. Okay. My brain's not working. Okay, so it would be in C minor. The 7 in C is a B flat. It would be a B flat. Yeah, you just use whatever is in there. And remember that in the key, in the minor key, unless you use the harmonic minor with the raised sharp 6, Your 7 chord is not going to be a diminished 7. It's not going to be a diminished chord. It's going to be a major chord. And they've got a diminished here, which means you'll have to flat your D or something. I mean, you'll have to count up the 3 half steps and, you know.
Okay, you can go ahead and mark that one wrong on
You
mine.
know what? I'm going to leave that one off. That's not the one I'm going to pick. But I'll play with it. I'll play with it because it seems. Here's my problem with the way they've got that. If you are not using something that's diatonic in the key, they're supposed to give you a little sharp or something to mean it's a raised something, or they, because it tells me it's not diatonic, because in C minor the seven is actually a B flat D F. That's a major. And if they're saying they want a diminished one, do they want you to build it on the B flat or on the raised B? I don't know. I can't tell. This to me, this figured bass on their last example, on the last line in C, makes no sense to me. As a music theorist, I can't look at it and say I don't know what they want their bass note to be. I'm not bass, the root. The
Yeah.
bass is a D, so the root is either a B or a B flat, depending on if they're using the harmonic or the melodic minor. So I guess it would have to be a B natural, otherwise it wouldn't come out diminished. So we're not going to do that one because to me it makes me mad to think about it that somebody's not doing a good job of, you know, I think that's just dumb. So I'll pick out which ones and circle those. I wish I hadn't circled these now because now they're in my book that way. So what I may have to do is download.
You want me to
Yeah,
send you that?
scan
I'll
your.
I'll scan that page and send it to you.
Okay, good. Yeah, your unblemished one. Okay, excellent. All right. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the hymn "We Three Kings of Orient Are," because I want you to see that the only good thing about minor keys is that it kind of gives you that little modal, you know, that minor sound that you're listening for. You don't want everything to sound like trumpets. Sometimes you want it to sound like oboes and, stuff like that. You want just a different feel for the music, that it's more not sad necessarily, but just modal tone. And so it gives you that, but also by borrowing some of the chords from the major key, then you can switch back and forth, between the
And
two.
I promised to not argue with you as to whether it's a minor key that borrows some majors or it's actually a major key that borrows some minors.
And that is true. And I'm curious to see, Glenn, if you turn in your paper and you say G at the beginning and we're starting with a 6 instead of a 1, I will not count that wrong because I think you make a very good case. Glenn's whole argument, because we had this talk last year, when he was saying, why do we even have minors? Oh, let me show you some fun thing about a minor. And he said, well, let's count how many of the whole of the measures in this, because you have G major and you have E minor. It switches back and forth. You have star. That's clearly in G major, right? The whole chorus is in G major. And then when you've got uh what is the chord? Now you're going in G major temporarily. So you could call it a major 3, but to me it sounds like you're kind of veering into G major. So would you say really the majority of the measures in this piece are in G major? So it really should be called a G major piece that starts off in E minor? That's the kind of stuff that music theorists love to argue about, is which key is this in and which key is the real key. And I'm curious because I can go either way on it,
I
honestly.
see my master's thesis in the making.
There you go. There you go. It would not
I
it
think with yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I was done.
Just I think maybe because that hymn always ends on the E minor when it comes to the end of a phrase. I think that's why. It might be. I don't know.
But
But
only the end of the verse it ends on E minor. But the whole but when you get to the very end, you go to E minor for a second. Now we're at the 5 of G. Yeah, it
but then
ends
it
on
goes back
E minor. You're right.
to I don't
So
know.
All right, that's a compelling argument. I'll give you that.
it is. If it ends, it
I'm not
starts
trying
and
to
ends,
argue. I just
it
had a
starts
thought.
and ends on the E minor. You're right. I think I'm in Naomi's court there.
Oh
So I'm
no.
curious. So go ahead and write out whatever you think. And if you think it's a few measures that we're in G, put a little parenthesis or bracket or something. Say G. We have a 4 5 1, and now we're back in E minor again. Or if you want to just call the whole thing in E minor, this is a 5 of the 3 chord. Go into the 3, or whatever. Fine. So give it a stab, and I'll upload that so you can download it, not have to write in your handbook. And
My
we'll
hymnal's
talk.
written all in anyway.
Huh? What's that?
My hymnal's written all in anyway, so
Mine is too. Mine is too. Mine is too. So
just like my
anyway,
Bible.
yeah. So I may give you a tone savvy. I don't know if I find something that really fits with what we're doing. Then I may give you one. And of course, I've been going in and altering them. I take the time limit off. I take the number of tries that you can do off. The number of errors I increase. I try to make it where it's not going to become a huge chore for you, because I hated going through the tone savvy because they don't use the key signatures like I depend on a key signature, and then just write out the notes, and you don't have to worry about counting up. Who wants to count half steps and whole steps to figure out your minor? I on the side, I'm writing out a key signature over here for E minor, and then I know, or E major, and then I can just put my accidentals from the key signature. So anyway, that's some disadvantages of tone savvy, is they don't test the way I teach. So, all right. Okay, so be watching for some content.
Got I got one more question today,
Okay.
left over from what class was that today? Uh,
It was
sight,
sight
sight
singing.
teaching and ear training.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay, she told me to ask you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
All right.
here's the deal. It's a series of chords. Do you want to write them on your board? You want me to take a picture of this and send it to you? Which
Well,
would be easier?
either one. Yeah. Go ahead and call them out.
All right. You're in the
Is
key
it a
of,
grand? Is it a grand staff?
yes, it is. And a year ago, I wouldn't have known that term.
Okay.
Oh, in fact, just use that one up in the top right hand corner there. Look, you already got. Oh,
What key?
anyway,
What's our key
E,
signature?
B flat,
A B flat and an E flat.
right?
We're in the
Just like
key of
jumping jack flat.
we're in the key of B flat.
B flat,
Okay. We're in B flat, so we have B flat and an E flat, right?
right?
Okay.
Your chord progression is going to be a 1 1 4 5. Yep. Did I lose you?
Nope.
Okay. I'm running out of battery here and I can't find a chord. So,
Okay.
all right. So, your first chord, you got a B flat in the soprano, an F in the alto, a D in the tenor, and a B flat in the bass.
Okay. So root position.
Right. Your next one, you got a B flat in the bass, but it drops an octave.
Okay. So it's way down here. I'll do it like this. A.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, your first B flat was up there at the top of the
Oh, I
staff.
see. Okay. 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 B flat here, and then
Right.
B
You got
flat.
a tight one, a
All
real
right.
tight.
Yeah, it was in
All right.
closed position.
And then your next bass note is going to be E flat and then an F.
E flat going up from the B flat.
Correct.
Okay, so we have an E flat. I'm gonna go ahead and put them, even though they're in the key signature,
Right.
so I don't have to think
Yeah.
about it.
Okay. Your soprano notes goes B flat, D, E flat, C.
Oops. Okay, D, E flat, C.
Hmm? Okay.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna give you the way that they gave it to us when they dictated it. Okay. But I have issues with it. All right. The alto line goes from an F to a B flat up to a B flat,
So, okay, it goes up a perfect fourth,
B flat,
and we
A,
keep it.
A. It
Okay,
goes B
another
flat,
B flat and then an A. Wait, F, B flat,
uh-huh, B flat,
another B flat,
and then an A.
and an A natural. Okay.
Okay. Now your tenor is going to go from a D to an F. Yeah, we got some serious ledger lines in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
To a G to a F,
All the way up, back to an F.
back to the F.
Okay. All right.
Now, my question was in voicing, if you got common tones, you leave them the same. Okay.
Yeah.
On that first first two,
That should be an
the
F
F,
right here,
that's F right there.
and the B
So
flat should be down here.
does that does that count as leaving it as a common tone, even though it changed voices from an alto to a tenor, but it's the
No,
same note?
no. Common tone is to keep the same voice just staying with where they are. So if in fact neither, okay, the B flat could have been, this could have been the common tone, but they have a soprano line. The
Right.
if it affects the soprano or the bass line, you may not have a choice about the common tone, because
Okay.
you may have a bass note, a bass line that you specifically want to drop for some reason. Now, in my opinion, they either
All
should
right.
have started the B flat down here
Yeah.
or leave it up here.
In my opinion, they should have flipped the alto and the tenor.
Yeah.
The alto and that
Yep.
second one should have been an F,
Yep.
and the tenor should have gone down to the B flat.
Yep. Yep. And then that would be, it would be a unison B flat here, right?
It'd be a B flat. Yes, the octave apart.
Yes. Now,
Now, she
now you've
said,
got, yeah, that's the way I think it should be.
right. Well, I thought so too. But she said um, that if you did it that way, then you'd have parallel octaves. But I don't see parallel octaves.
Let's see, a B flat going to a D, an F common tone. I don't either.
Yeah.
Nope.
Unless it's the next two. I don't.
Yeah, it might cause something. We'd have to
Yeah.
do out the whole
But,
thing.
but to me, that wasn't a very good argument either, because if you look at those last two chords, you got parallel fifths, and that's the way they gave it. They gave it with parallel. Isn't that from a E to a C and a D? Let's see.
This is a G, B flat, E.
Uh huh. In the G to a B flat, and then the G to the B flat and an F to an A. That's a fifth, right?
I don't see a fifth in there.
Between the alto and the tenor on the four chord.
Uh,
Okay.
no, that's a third.
Oh, that's the third. Here it is. Okay. What was I
Yeah.
looking at? Oh, well, anyway.
But
All right.
but you're right. Yeah, it could, and it could cause some problems. But honestly, I see no reason why they would have had that huge jump like they did in the having uh either this one or the going up to the F is
Right.
nonsense to me.
Okay. Because I just wonder. I thought they needed to keep a common tone. The only reason I think they didn't need to keep a common tone because they're both a one chord,
Yeah. Well,
and that, all the tones are common.
mm, I think, honestly, the common tone, the whole purpose of the common tone is for mainly the inner voices or skipping voices, like the bass and the altos or something. You don't want parallel fifths, parallel octaves moving with skipping voice or anything. Parallel octaves and parallel fifths especially. But that's more important than than keeping a common tone. Common tone is really, with all things considered, keep in mind that a lot of times a composer has a strong objective, a strong feeling about what they want to happen in that bass line. They want that bass to either go dun 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 in a certain pattern, or arpeggiated or something, and then maybe the soprano has a melody that's established, and so you don't have a lot of leeway between that patterned bass, whatever that walking bass is, and the melody. So if you have to try to deal with just the inner middle voices, the tenor and the alto, sometimes your hands are more tied when it comes to the common tone, because if the common tone is between a bass and an upper voice or something, unless you have that's not really a common tone, because it's the purpose of the common tone is to keep that voice from having to move around. It can just stay on the same one.
Okay.
So if it's different voices, it's really not a common tone. So
Okay. So yeah. Okay. So it would have been legit to have flipped those two.
yeah, yeah, yeah. To me, it's better voice leading
Stronger,
for sure.
a stronger chord.
For sure, that's a better voice leading. Keeping the common tone and moving that down to a unison even, and not have this one at all. You know,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
with you. All right, y'all. I will talk to you soon, and I'll go ahead and I may leave off the last part of this off of unless you want your teacher to see it. Hear my answer to it.
Well, she
But
said ask you and then report back to her what you said.
okay, okay.
So
Tell her I agreed with you. So,
okay. Ooh, well, no. I'm not going to say that.
or maybe even with her. I don't know what her opinion was. So anyway, okay. So I'll post the new thing for the minor keys. Just consult your chart. Okay, look for the what kind of key, which triad it is, that one on page 144. See which needs to be doubled and which inversions. It doesn't matter about the inversions because they're going to give you which inversions are in. Just look for the
Right.
doubling and try not to do any parallel fifths and octaves. Okay?
Okay.
All right
Thank you.
then. Okie doke. See y'all soon.
All righty.
Okie doke.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, bye.